Woo! It is Wednesday, 420. For all our stoner friends, listeners, and viewers, smoke them if you got them. Wake and bake. Fun. Let's see here. One person, the first two. Tracy Bogert in first. Yeah, Tracy, you've given us Major League Baseball standings. That means Astros fall out of first place last night with their 7-2 loss. See, who is tonight's NBA lineup? Let us see. Okay, that's not good. Let's see, Wednesday games. Nets Celtics, that'll be a great one. Boston up 1-0. Sixers Raptors. Philly up 2-0. And Bulls Bucks up 1-0. That first one is TNT at 6. On NBA TV at 7. And that one is TNT at 8:30. All right, what do we got? Phoenix play tonight? Oh, Phoenix lost. Yeah, that was a big one last night. Pelicans over Phoenix. I think that's an anomaly. When the Spurs won their first championship in 1999, they lost game 2 at home to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Phoenix was 64-18 in the regular season. I could be wrong, but my goodness, that was a huge win for the Pelicans, man. They make that series interesting for the moment. I just still think Foamfoot 420. Happy 420 to Foamfoot 420. Anthony Del Toro, good morning. Steve Duraco, the original Rock. What is up? Devin Booker pulled a hamstring. Well, then that makes it much more interesting. Much more interesting. We'll have to look into that. Thank you for that, Tracy. We'll explore that. Yeah, I'm looking at headlines. Not seeing that Booker headline, but we'll check it. All right, got to do some muting here early for our evil Facebook overlords. Not today, Zuckerberg. Not today. Thank you, Foamfoot. You noticed the hat. Thank you very much.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is Wednesday, April 20th, 2022. That means 420 for all our stoner friends, stoner listeners and viewers. Wake and bake. Smoke them if you got them. Just don't get arrested. We don't ask you or, advocate anything illegal, but it's legal in some states. It's a big day for... Exactly. Thank you. I'm sure that's going on somewhere this morning. I wonder if stoners are awake at 6:11 in the morning. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. So much going on in the world of sports. NBA playoffs last night. Huge upset in Phoenix as the New Orleans Pelicans beat the Phoenix Suns 125-114. Astros lose to the LA Angels 7-2 last night. They fall out of first place at least for the moment, in the AL West. And speaking of West, Jerry West, none too happy. We got some lawyers involved. Shannon and Jeremy and I have been telling you about the HBO Max series Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. We're digging it. The real Jerry West, not digging it. Some of the stories we'll get into this morning. Great guests. We've got Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, who will now become our NBA analyst for the playoffs, NBA playoff analyst. It was a week ago tonight that the Spurs in the play-in game were in New Orleans playing the Pelicans. And apparently, as we mentioned, Pelicans beat Phoenix last night. That's a pretty good Pelicans team, apparently. A little bit later as well in the 8 o'clock hour, Jason Garcia, who calls us now and then. He is on the board of the Crocketeers.
on my coffee order today, which is huge for those that are part of the any rewards program. I mean, 5 times the points goes a long way. So I'm off to a great start.
Woo! Very good. Off to a great start. Good to hear. Jeremy Kolok, our Soundscape stylist. Anything exciting, like 5 extra coffee points for you yet this morning?
No, just a normal morning. I mean, I liked to listen to the banter from Mr. T, Tim Merriman, on 1200 WOAI down the hall this morning, just to see what he had to say about the holiday to some today. But that's all. Just a normal morning for me.
Did Mr. T, Tim Merriman, cite today's holiday over on the 50,000 watt blowtorch news talk, news radio, WOAI in San Antonio?
That was the first thing he mentioned when they went live at about 5:07 or something this morning.
Very fair. I find it funny.
Me too.
It's so funny to me, Jeremy and Shannon. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it was almost a taboo to mention it. It's like, ooh, you're mentioning 420. That's code language for stoners, dude. And now more and more, it's becoming so much more mainstream, and more states are legalizing it. It's kind of, I looked at on Pinterest today, and there was all kinds of 420 holiday art. I mean, one of these days, and I hear from people who say they're in the know that Texas will probably be the last state in America to legalize weed. But one of these days, it'll be one of our holidays, and there'll be sales. Like you've got a President's Day sale. A spring sale. There'll probably be 420 sales somewhere down the line. So we have special music for you this morning that Jeremy has, collected. It'll be a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jerry. Let's start, and we'll get into it maybe throughout the morning. I think it's kind of a big deal. And I mentioned this, Shannon, to you and Jeremy when we started watching Winning Time, the rise of the Lakers dynasty on HBO and HBO Max. The portrayal of Jerry West, especially in the early episodes when he's flipping out and he's busting a golf club over his knee, and when he's throwing a trophy through a window in the offices, and just seems totally unhinged. I said to you guys, like, wow, I watched Jerry West throughout his career. I'm old enough to remember Jerry West playing for the 1972 NBA champion Los Angeles Lakers. Wilt Chamberlain was on that roster, among others. And I don't remember Jerry West being a hothead or a total out of control lunatic. And the one thing, among others, that I remember that I didn't like Jerry West for is he went over and became the general manager of the Memphis Grizzlies. And while he was there, he essentially gifted Pau Gasol to the Lakers. When Shaq left the Lakers, Kobe needed a running mate, and Jerry West pretty much gave Memphis Grizzly Pau Gasol to the Lakers for like a bag of Doritos. But we learn overnight, and thanks to Jeremy for calling this to our attention last night, it's now a big story this morning. Jerry West, the former Laker and NBA executive, with attorneys, is demanding a retraction and an apology from the makers of Winning Time on HBO in what he calls a baseless and malicious assault on his character. And he gives them a deadline to, I think, is it a 2-week deadline? I got to dive further into the story. I read it this morning when I woke up. But Jerry West is none too happy, and it's going to be interesting, Shannon, to see what the producers of Winning Time do here. If all he's demanding is a retraction and an apology, to me, that's doable. Apologies are cheap. I think you could move forward with this series and kind of have a disclaimer at the beginning. There are disclaimers already that say this is a dramatization of events involving the Lakers. In the letter sent by their Jerry West's attorneys, he says that doesn't go far enough. So, but I think they can apologize. I think they can retract. I think they can say going forward, we'll make every effort to portray Jerry West in a better light. How do you feel about all of this, Shannon?
When you first started this, you mentioned kind of the craziness that is displayed about Jerry West, the breaking of the golf club over the knee, the throwing of his trophy through the office window, and kind of the outburst. All of those things happened in season 1. Now, he continued to be crazy, and in some episodes he was shown as a little more settled down, right? Especially after he was removed removed himself from the team as the head coach. But I kind of wonder, okay, when did he decide to get in contact with lawyers? Because we're now through episode 7 of this series. Mm-hmm. Is it because we're working on language? Is it because he gave them the benefit of the doubt to start the season? And then also this 2-week kind of time frame he's given them. It's HBO, and those seasons, each series has typically, and I'm looking at it now, and this is correct for this particular show, Winning Time, 10 episodes a season. So the last episode is set to air May 8th, which would be after that 2-week period. So you wonder if maybe there's some disruption. I mean, honestly, just like Jeremy and I are watching the show, we're learning a lot about guys that we know of now, but in a different light. We're learning about who they were previously before we came to know them. I think there's a lot of people watching the show, probably not kids. Obviously, it is HBO. There is some language. There's some other things going on in there. But there's a lot of people probably, especially because a lot of people probably are watching this as a story more so than a basketball standpoint, who didn't realize Jerry West was the logo for the NBA, who didn't realize the story of Jerry West. He's probably getting more notoriety than he probably maybe ever has, just because the way the media and social media is now, that it kind of feels like maybe he's taking advantage a little bit, maybe wants his cut of the show, and maybe, maybe some producer credits for season 2, now that we know that, oh, by the way, yeah, the show's been last week, got renewed for season 2. There's going to be more of this coming.
That's a great idea, that maybe he wants a little something here. I do know, and from my study of broadcast journalism at USC and just working in the industry in radio for all of these years, to prove defamation against a public figure, and the makers of this drama, and that's what it is. There's a disclaimer at the top of the show, and even though there's Jerry West's attorneys right now say no, that's not good enough. They say this is a dramatization of events. It's not a documentary. If they went after one of us, and we'd even have a hard time, you and me, Shannon, and even Jeremy, because we put ourselves out there on the radio. It could be argued in court that we are public figures. But if one of our listeners who did not seek to be a public figure were portrayed, swearing a lot and drinking a lot and throwing things through windows and breaking golf clubs and just to be a madman, then it would the threshold of proof, the burden of proof in a court of law in a civil suit would not be as high. I think it's going to be difficult for Jerry West. But I'm reading some quotes from the ESPN story by Ramona Shelburne, and there are, and I do find it interesting. There are people who worked with Jerry West, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, said, quote, "Instead of exploring his issues with compassion as a way to better understand the man, they turn him into a Wile E. Coyote cartoon to be laughed at. He never broke golf clubs. He didn't throw his trophy through the window. So, sure, those actions make dramatic moments, but they reek of facile exploitation of the man rather than exploration of character." The character, the front office executive, the woman portrayed by Gabby Hoffman, said, quote, "Jerry treated me and everyone else in the Lakers organization with dignity and respect. I never saw Jerry break or throw anything in anger or rage, nor did I hear anyone say he did such things." Mitch Kupchak and others have spoken out on behalf of Jerry West. It's going to be fascinating, Shannon, and I think it's going to be very instructive for people moving forward. And specifically, the ratings are so high for this series moving forward to see how it handles this. Do they want to appease Jerry West and go, all right, here's a retraction, here's an additional disclaimer, and oh, by the way, yeah, we'll make Jerry a producer on season 2, an associate producer. Maybe that happens, or the attorneys for HBO and the production company might look at this. They may lawyer up, and we might have ourselves a fun little fight in court. I think it's going to be fascinating. And again, with this 2-week ultimatum deadline for an apology and a retraction, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. We talk about sports on this show and what happens on the court and on the field. This is a different court that it may wind up in, but it's going to be kind of fun, fascinating, and instructive to see what happens next.
How meta would it be if this series, which is going through the Showtime Lakers, they get to the end of that run, and then they have an episode where it's like Magic Johnson and all the things he's done in his post-playing career, and Pat Riley and how he went to these other teams and became a huge success, and then Jerry West, and then it's talking about how he ended up turning around and suing the very show you're watching right now. I mean, I as much as I can get why he might be upset by this, I think there is a bit of a money grab angle to this as well.
It's a great theory, and we will see as it plays forward. But to your point there, Shannon, part of what I love about this dramatization, this show, this drama, it's serious and it's funny and it's stylistic. The very fact that these are people we know, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dr. Jerry Buss, Jerry West, Jeannie Buss, Paula Abdul, they could, even though Jeff Pearlman's book was about Showtime, they could easily move it into the Kobe and Shaq era, and then they could easily, everything you described, Shannon, Pat Riley going on to the New York Knicks and Miami, and then the fall of the Los Angeles Lakers, Kobe's retirement, the horrible, tragic death of Kobe, and then LeBron showing up, winning a championship, and then this monumental, epic fail this year by the Lakers to even make the playoffs. Given the success and the excitement and the ratings around this show, if they want to keep it going all the way into 2022 and beyond as a dramatization, they certainly could. And again, this storyline, Jerry West suing the show itself, you're right. Gosh, there's lots going on. As we roll forward, I want to get Jeremy Kolok's thoughts on the Jerry West It's not a lawsuit yet, a demand of a retraction and an apology. It looks like it's going to be a lawsuit, but again, money talks and you know what walks. So Jerry West, I think, could be appeased if the price is right. Plus, everything going on in the world in sports, as we mentioned. New Orleans Pelicans, a huge upset in Phoenix last night. They even that series 1-1. We'll cover all the NBA action from last night. Big ones tonight, including game number 2, Celtics versus the Brooklyn Nets. We'll tell you our poll question coming up in the next segment as well. It's a pretty big one. And Adam Alcocer on our live video feed, this would be a good one for the free iHeartRadio app to get your feedback. On 420, he wants to know, what is your favorite stoner movie of all time? Let us know either on the phone lines, on the feedback feature, the talkback feature on the iHeartRadio app, or on the live video feed. What's your best stoner movie of all time? I got one that jumped into my mind immediately. I'll tell you what that one is coming up. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. He is Jeremy Kolok, your Soundscape Stylist. Wake and bake on 420. Smoke them if you got them. Just don't get arrested. You're listening to The Chris Duel Show. Yes, Rick James. Little Mary Jane. Woo! Adam, that's a great question, man. All right. Yeah, Cheech and Chong movies. Tracy Bogart, good morning. Anthony Del Toro, good morning. Foamfoot 420, a.k.a. I'm Not High. Amber, good morning. Steve Duraco, good morning. Hector Gomez, good morning. I think I said Anthony Del Toro. Anthony, I'm wearing my Toros t-shirt this morning. Luisa Alanis. David Pryor saying it's a hammy for Jose. I heard it was a foot, man. I'll take it. Clint Proctor, good morning. Clint will be on the show on Friday. Clint, did we say 8:35 or 8 o'clock on Friday? We gotta figure that out. Jason Peniagua, good morning. I gotta record some radio spots here. Let me take a look at this. Okay, I'm going to mute for a moment. Once again, here, I'm going to record some spots, just letting you know. Thanks. All right, I'm going to bang a couple of spots out. So I'm going to mute for a sec. I'll give you some. Oh, let's see. I'm going to have to turn that on. Let's get rid of the headphones. New. All right, I'll be back in a sec with some audio. Adam with Dazed and Confused, the best quotes and one-liners in a killer soundtrack. See, Adam, I'm older, so the first thing that popped into my head when you posed that question was Fast Times at Ridgemount High and Sean Penn as Spicoli, the stoner. So that's the one I thought of. Beth Settle, good morning. What is up, Beth Settle? You are up early. I've been behind all morning trying to catch up on spots. So, Beth, I did not yet send you a text. Do not take it personally. In honor of 420, we came up with some songs. Because I Got High by Afro Man, One Toke Over the Line, Brewer and Shipley, Got to Get You Into My Life. A lot of people don't know Paul McCartney wrote that about weed. True story. Legalize It by Peter Tosh. Mary Jane by Rick James. We just played that. You Don't Know How It Feels by Tom Petty. Roll Me Up and Smoke Me When I Die by Willie Nelson, Snoop Dogg, and Chris Christopherson. As we celebrate 420. There we go. There we go.
To the point, let's roll another joint.
It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
Little Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. You Don't Know How It Feels to Be Me with Let's Roll Another Joint in the chorus. We honor our stoner listeners and viewers and friends on this 420, which someday will be a national holiday. Before we get to the high five play of the day, I want to remind you that Adam on our live video feed posed a very, very good question. What is your favorite stoner movie of all time? And Adam says, Dazed and Confused. He says it has the best quotes and one-liners with a killer soundtrack. First thing that popped into my head, because I'm older, was Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which starred, among others, Sean Penn as a character named Spicoli, who was always high as a kite. And that was kind of the breakthrough Sean Penn movie. A lot of people noticed Sean Penn for the first time, and that had a huge cast, and it also had a really, really good soundtrack. But Shannon, our poll question this morning is also motivated or inspired by today's 420 holiday. And thank you very much for those of you scoring at home. Shannon, what are we posing today on our poll question?
Over on Ticket 760 and AM 1300 The Zone on Twitter, who is America's greatest stoner? I've got 4 options for you. Tommy Chong, who, to be clear, I don't know who that is. Snoop Dogg, who was my personal vote because I think he's crossed a lot of generations. I think he's a generational stoner. Willie Nelson, I think, is a little more local as far as his impact on that community. And then you tell us. And we do have someone coming in saying Tommy Chong and Willie Nelson should both deserve votes. You can only vote once. So they went ahead and said that they both get their vote. So head over to Twitter, Ticket 760 and AM 13 on The Zone, and let us know. As far as movies, Chris, I think that's a great question. I feel like a lot of people my age would maybe say Pineapple Express, but I'm going to say We're the Millers, which doesn't include a lot of...
We're the Millers. I don't know that one. Tell me about it.
It's Jennifer Aniston, Jason Sudeikis, and it has a lot of great one-liners as well. Hashtag no regrets, because the guy has a tattoo that's supposed to say no regrets, and it's spelled wrong on his chest. But there's no active... there's not a ton of active use, but it is about a smuggling that occurs with this. They're people down on their luck, and they band together to become a made-up family, and chaos ensues on this road trip. It's great. I recommend it.
I will check
It's
it
hilarious.
out. I will take your recommendation. Before Before we ask Jeremy Kolok if a stoner movie is on his radar, we just gave our poll question of, who's the America's greatest stoner. And by the way, Tommy Chong, who you're not familiar with, have you heard of Cheech and Chong movies or Cheech and Chong records?
Shannon? I've heard of them, but still that doesn't, it brings no vision into my mind as to what that is.
Okay, man, I grew up on Cheech and Chong albums and movies, but Jason Paniagua, a suggestion for America's greatest stoner, and it kind of hurts, it kind of stings. Brittany Griner. Ouch. Oh, no, you didn't, Jason. Man, I didn't even think about that. Poor Brittany Griner is in a Russian jail as we speak because she had, cannabis or, I forget what kind of vaping she had that was THC laced, allegedly. And another one, some people think he's high every time he talks. From the sports world, he's not one of our three choices. Maybe he should have been. Bill Walton, one of my personal heroes and one of my favorite broadcasters, Bill Walton. He should probably be on that list. All right, before we do the high five play of the day, Jeremy Kolok, I know you're not a stoner. You're a clean cut, good, clean, well-behaved American boy. You've never broken any laws that we're aware of in any states. However, you are an observer of culture. What would you say would be the greatest stoner movie you're aware of?
Well, Shannon is absolutely right. The stoner movie of my generation is Pineapple Express.
Wow.
That's it. It's not even close, to be honest. But I do want to, I would say for me personally, a good runner-up would be The Big Lebowski.
Nice. The Big Lebowski. That's a great one. And that's a classic, and I love that one. And by the way, Amber on the live video feed just gave us Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, starring Johnny Depp, who is in the news right now, still going on with that Amber Heard lawsuit craziness. But yeah, I love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, originally a book written by Hunter S. Thompson, Dr. Hunter S. Thompson. I read it when I was in college. It is one of the most brilliantly written, the style that Hunter S. Thompson wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas in, almost a Kerouacian stream of consciousness, brilliance in writing that then I think Johnny Depp nailed Dr. Hunter S. Thompson in that movie. I love that choice as well. All right. We'll get some more stoner topics along with sports throughout the morning, but it is time for our high five play of the day. We do this every morning at this time because it's the right thing to do, because we're generous with our high fives, and we should be. The high five play of the day is appropriately sponsored by High Five, and today on 420, high may have a whole different meaning. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, tell the people about High Five.
High five, a common thing with maybe taking part in those extracurriculars is that you tend to get the munchies, and lots of great things to munch on over at High Five. So make sure you check them out. And lucky for you, it's also Wednesday, which means you're going to get deals on those Mondays because it is all night happy hour. Chris, Kevin Monk on our live video feed said, "How dare I, a local loss tonight, forget Matthew McConaughey on this day that is 420. But I tell you, we did not forget.
Yes.
We were just waiting for this very moment because Matthew McConaughey, I think he was stone cold sober yesterday, but the Moody Center officially opened its doors. It had some walkthroughs earlier this week with the media. It looks beautiful. It's got a 60-foot wood canopy. It'll house 15,000 people. And there will be 150 nights of entertainment a year, plus all of the games that will take place in what is the new official home of Texas basketball. And of course, we have later this month is the kind of official grand opening ceremony, which will feature Willie Nelson, who we just previously discussed, and headlined by one and only George Strait. That'll be a back-to-back show for them. But things actually get kicked off tonight with John Mayer, who is in town tonight and tomorrow. Justin Bieber will be performing there next week. Looks like Bon Jovi will be here this weekend. So lots of concerts taking place before that grand opening celebration, but plenty of things lined up. Chris mentioned he's going to the Eagles next month. They've got a back-to-back date as well there at the new Moody Center. But during the ribbon cutting, one Matthew McConaughey was there, and he wanted to share this message. He says we need to bless the mood, and he explained what he meant by that yesterday when he spoke in front of the new Moody Center.
Now comes the fun part. Yes, it's time to bless the mood. We got to fill the mood with soul. Yes, it is time to bless the mood. It is the live music capital of the world community of Austin, Texas. It's time to bless the mood. It is Bevo's time to bless the mood. It is the University of Texas women's basketball team's time to bless the mood. It is the University of Texas men's basketball team's time to bless the mood. The media, the reporters, outlets, you who will share the stories we tell in there, it is your time to bless the mood. It is the Moody Center staff's time with their hospitality and service to bless the mood. It is the UT student section's time at courtside in a standing room only, 270 degrees, as CDC likes to remind, I always say, around the floor. Call it the corral. It is your time to bless the mood. Yeah, it's your time, it's my time, it is our time to bless the mood. We got to fill this place with soul. We got to fill this place with the best of ourselves every time we go in it. That's how we're going to bless the mood.
Wow.
A high five to everyone involved in the building, creation, and opening of the Moody Center. It looks beautiful. Matthew McConaughey was apparently, as we already know, he is part of the Moody Center. His work is clearly there. He was part of apparently all of the innovation and meetings they had. Even when he was in Hawaii, he was tuning in, and so for him to physically be there, because I feel like he showed up at an Austin FC game last year and then he just kind of fell off the face of the earth, but he has been back and around town as of late and being the guy we know and love and giving great speeches, which, I mean, forget the acting. What do you think those are scripted, Chris? Do you think he has someone write those and then he treats them like he's performing in a film, or does he write those himself and come off the cuff a little bit?
I got a feeling that, like he obviously was going to say, the mood and the people who are going to, enhance the mood. I got a feeling that, like he's kind of a method actor, I believe. And I think he kind of knows where he's going to go. And I know, from stand-up comedy, you've got kind of a set list and an outline, but not a script. You've got bits that you're going to do, but then you improvise into those bits. It feels improvisational to me. I got a feeling he's pretty much off the cuff with that stuff.
He is incredible. We hope to see him around more. Now, Chris, I am attempting to get some station tickets to go see Justin Bieber next week. There are no guarantees, so there's a good chance that you, sir, will be the first of us to take in the Moody Center, and what a way to do it with the Eagles. So we'll be looking for a full report when you do make that trip, and obviously a recap of the show, because the Eagles, hello, that's a big deal. But that's it. Today's high five play of the day, the Moody Center, officially open in Austin, Texas.
Tremendous high five play of the day, and kudos to you, Shannon, for grabbing that Matthew McConaughey audio. And again, as our poll question today, who's America's greatest stoner? And you can put that on us. I had Tommy Chong, Snoop Dogg, and Willie Nelson. How do you leave Matthew McConaughey off that list? But as I hear him speak, Shannon, what an ambassador he is, A, for Austin, and 1A in either order for the University of Texas. I mean, he is amazing. And while as I grew up, and as and he's still around, and I love him, and he's He's on our list, Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson has kind of been the patron saint of the great state of Texas for so many people for so many years, and will continue to be. But I think whenever Willie chooses to leave this earth, and we hope it's not for a long, long time because we love him, man, Matthew McConaughey is just embodies Texas. He embodies the University of Texas. He embodies Austin, and he embodies coolness. He's just like one of the coolest guys on the face of the earth. I just love the audio. But back to quick, you're giving up too quick on getting those Bieber tickets. You need to throw your weight around in that I Heart Austin complex and say, hey, don't you know who I am? I am Shannon Salty Sweeney. I deserve these Bieber tickets. I will. I'm huge on social media. I will show everyone my review of the Moody Center. I think heads need to roll in Austin until you get your Bieber tickets.
The twist here is that all of our promotional stuff is currently in San Antonio, so that's physically.
Okay, well that too.
Yeah.
All right. Well then.
Just one more note on the Moody Center. We do have we played you that very short clip of McConaughey. There's a video of the entire opening, including more Matthew McConaughey. So if you want that and to see the Moody Center, we've got that for you on the Chris Duel Show blog page for you this morning.
Again, if those promotion tickets are in San Antonio, get big boss man Jason on that for you. If I see him in the hallway today, because he's in between Austin and San Antonio, I'll say, hey man, we were talking about you on the radio. Shannon wants to go see Bieber. Make it happen. I'm sure he'll be thrilled with my cajoling. All right. Coming up, don't forget Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs. A little over an hour, just after 8 o'clock. Speaking of Austin FC in San Antonio at Toyota Field tonight to take on San Antonio FC. Soccer freak Jason Garcia will talk to us about that at 8:35. We'll talk NBA playoffs. We'll talk NFL. We'll talk Major League Baseball. Lots going on in the world of sports. And Jerry West, an unhappy camper. We're all over it. She's the salty one. He's Jeremy. I'm Chris. Till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. All right. Cornell, welcome in from New Orleans. Very cool. Cornell Ridgely with us from New Orleans. Great to have New Orleans in the house. Let's see here. Beth Settle, again, good morning. I think I just texted you. So going down the line, the people I've seen in here this morning, Tracy Bogert, Anthony Del Toro. I am wearing my San Antonio Toros t-shirt this morning. Amber, a.k.a. Foam Foot 420. Hector Gomez, Steve Duraco. Adam Alcocer with the great question, man. You got us on a roll with that one. David Pryor, Clint Proctor, Jason Paniagua, Jesse Bratton, Ralph Balderas, Jason Garcia in here. Jason's going to join us at 8:35. Man, that was to throw Brittany Griner in there, man. Chilling, but well played. Kevin Monk. Raul, welcome in. Raul says, bruh, Half-Baked is the only movie. You can certainly make that argument. Guy Gallegos agrees with you with Half-Baked. Kevin Monk. Again, Cornell, welcome in. From Japan. You are too kind, Robert Browning. The check is in the mail. Whoa, Bill Brendel, Elon Musk, a new Texas stoner. Yeah, Tracy Bogert with that story. Man, if Nashville gets a damn Major League Baseball team and we don't in San Antonio, All right. Let's see. I need ice, and I may grab some coffee or not. Wow, man, Jason, you are all over it. Joe Rogan can be considered a new Texas stoner. But even though he wears green, I'm sure Mike Taylor doesn't touch the stuff. Gabe Quintanilla. Gabe the Hammer. Quintanilla, everybody. You know him, you love him. You can't get enough of him. Do not ever go up against Gabe Quintanilla in a court of law. You will lose. Woo! Woo! Thank you, Mike Taylor. see if I have time to do one more of these spots before I'm going to do a quick spot here. Where is it? Where's my copy? Darn it. Where'd it go? There it is. All right. Let me hit this real quick. I'm going to mute for a sec so you don't have to listen to me. Audio coming back in just a second. All right. Let's see. So, man, we got so many Texans on the stoner list. Joe Rogan, now a Texan. Elon Musk, now a Texan. Thank you, Bill Brendel. Bill Brendel, I tagged you. I think I tagged you. I saw some old photo of the Alamo from like the 1930s on Facebook, some San Antonio Memories page, which was interesting. Let's see here. We talked about Jerry West a lot. Caesar says Tommy Chong and Willie Nelson on Twitter. Leading the voting currently. Willie Nelson with 60% of the vote. Snoop Dogg 24. Tommy Chong 12. Other is 4% for the America's Greatest Stoner. Here we go. Let me mute for a moment for our evil Facebook overlords. All right.
Now, Chris Duel.
Wake and bake, everybody. It is 4:20. If you're so inclined, I know not everybody's so inclined, but if you are, obviously, we don't advocate anybody breaking the law. So I'm speaking, of course, to our listeners in Colorado, California, and other places where it might be legal. The 420 holiday is upon us on this Wednesday, April 20th. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Less than an hour from now, just after 8 o'clock, our new, and wait, he did it last year, so he's not new, but we now change his hat. Our NBA playoff analyst, Bill Schöning, voice of the San Antonio Spurs, of course, former voice of the Texas Longhorns. In fact, I texted him yesterday, said, you going to join us on the show tomorrow? He was calling a Texas State Bobcats baseball game. Bill Schöning never quits, man. You would think when I don't even do a 10th of the work that Bill Schöning does, a 20th on the Spurs broadcasts. When Spurs season ended a week ago tonight, it's like, I said, man, I need a I need to chill here. It's like last weekend I did nothing, just caught up on my sleep. Bill Schöning's out there broadcasting other games right away. So we'll talk to him about the NBA playoffs and all of that. Speaking of the NBA playoffs, here in just a few moments, we'll get into the fine assessed to bird flipper Kyrie Irving. And tonight, Kyrie will be back at the TD Garden in Boston. It'll be your first NBA playoff game of the night, 6 o'clock on TNT, as Boston hosts Brooklyn in Game 2 of that Eastern Conference first-round series. Boston got the 1-point victory in Game 1, so they go at it again tonight. A couple of things before we dive right into the world of sports. You can always join us on the phone lines. Phone lines are open to you at 800-707-9760. But if you want to sound off in the newfangled high-tech way, we enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. You will too. The free iHeartRadio app. You go and listen to us via AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. Bottom of your screen, you'll see a microphone button. That is your talkback button. Today, among other things, we're asking you on 420, what is your go-to stoner movie? And we're getting a lot of great responses there. You can leave yours via the talkback button there, or you can join us on the live video feed. You can get to the live video feed on via Facebook Live, either radio station's Twitter page, or via YouTube. So lots of ways to get in there. Jeremy Kolok is your Soundscape Stylist. Jeremy, speaking of the NBA, before we get into Kyrie Irving and tonight's game between the Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets, I'm a bit remiss. Shannon and I should have talked to you after Memphis dropped Game 1 of their series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. As we know, I'm a huge Spurs fan, as are you. Shannon's a Mavericks fan, so her Mavericks back in their series at 1-1. But you grew up in Memphis. You're a Memphis Grizzlies fan, so Memphis dropped the first one in that series. They came back last night at the FedEx Forum in Memphis with a vengeance. They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 124-96. Do you think Memphis is done playing around with the Timberwolves now?
No, I think that's actually a really good matchup of the series. I think the Grizzlies will ultimately win, but the Timberwolves are a pretty well-rounded team, and they're really athletic, Chris, just across their entire lineup. They're really athletic. So I don't think it's going to be an easy series for Memphis. I mean, it could go 6-7 games, but I think they'll still pull it out. I mean, they have the best player in the matchup with Ja Morant at the end of the day.
Yeah, second best record in the NBA to Phoenix. We mentioned earlier, Phoenix lost last night at Phoenix in their Game 2 of the Western Conference opening series against the Pelicans. Pelicans 125, Phoenix 114. And Shannon, ahead of tonight's big one between the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets, Celtics up 1-0. We were wondering how much the NBA would fine Kyrie Irving for flipping off and cursing Celtics fans. We now know what his fine was. What was it, and how do you feel about it?
Well, Jeremy got it right to the T. $50,000 fined to Kyrie Irving for the not so sneaky flipping the bird behind his head. Folks have cameras, so they took a picture. If the NBA wasn't sure exactly what he was doing from the live shot we got while he was standing on the sideline there, other people certainly assisted in that. And it's not crazy. I mean, we've seen the NBA give out plenty of fines as of late, especially for things like this. But the interesting thing now, they are obviously in a series, and there will likely be more games in Boston, of which Kyrie will be in attendance. So we'll see if he's maybe learned a lesson or just says, I have plenty of money. Let me keep going with this.
That's a great question. Will he double down on that? I remember Rasheed Wallace of the Detroit Pistons got so many technical fouls and was fined so many times for just being very, very demonstrative and getting thrown out of games. And he didn't care. He just kept going. In fact, he's the reason why you now have a limit on technical fouls before you have to sit a game out. It happened in his era when he was getting all those T's, and he just didn't care. It's like, throw me out. I don't care. I'll pay the fine. I think, Shannon, that makes tonight's game, and Boston Celtics fans are just notorious for, riding players they don't like. And obviously they've got a lot of angst with Kyrie Irving. They feel he abandoned and betrayed them. And now that they know he's been fined, and now that they know justice was done, and now that they know, the NBA is expecting him to behave and be quiet and just go play basketball, I got to believe Boston fans tonight in that game against Brooklyn will be as vociferous and as vicious as ever. So that'll be interesting to watch. And as you mentioned, how does Kyrie respond? That'll be another thing to watch. I mean, he had a huge game in game one, and they lost by 1 at the end. As Jeremy walked us through, so many things had to go right for Boston in that final sequence to win that game. Brooklyn really needs to win, Shannon. The current percentage of NBA teams in a 7-game series that go down 0-2 is 8%. They have an 8% chance of winning. Obviously, the flip, they've got a 92% chance of losing that series. Brooklyn, which could have won game one, really, really needs to win game 2 here.
Yeah. And again, we talk about this whole, teaming up and super team and this, just because you have a super team, that doesn't change what you just mentioned, right? The odds are against them should they drop another game. And I think back to, was it against the Bucks when they just got run over? I mean, they can't have this. And to continue the conversation with Kyrie and Boston, I mean, how awful would that be for Kyrie should not only does he get kicked out of the playoffs early, but at the hands of the Boston Celtics? That would certainly sting. I would imagine the only way he would go out would be both birds held high.
Yeah. And I mean, you think about the angst on both sides. Obviously, Celtics fans, I think the Celtics players are just doing what they do, playing basketball. But those fans are out for blood. I mean, San Antonio Spurs fans, if they were in a heated series like this against Kawhi Leonard shortly after Kawhi left, I mean, it would have been kind of heated like this. If then imagine Kawhi Leonard flipping off Spurs fans to really throw salt on that wound or throw fuel on that fire, things would have gotten even crazier. So obviously Celtics fans want to see Kyrie Irving get eliminated and destroyed in this series. And then Kyrie Irving would love to just stick it to those fans to be the winning factor. And as we saw in, the Phoenix series in their game 2, all of a sudden now Pelicans get that win, even though it's a much different dynamic. A lot of people believe Celtics Nets is a much more even series. Nobody really giving the Pelicans a chance to beat Phoenix, but all of a sudden you win one of those first 2 games and you have effectively stolen home court advantage. You turn it into a 3 of 5 with 3 of those games in your house. I got to believe, Shannon, this is so critical for both teams.
Yep.
If Brooklyn wins this, And they get home court now, 3 of 5 at the Barclays Center, where Kyrie now can play and has been playing very, very well. I think all the momentum goes to Brooklyn if they win tonight. But if Boston wins, that 8% chance of winning if you're down 0-2 is going to be a dagger, I believe, for Brooklyn. I think that makes this game all the more critical for both teams.
Well, Kyrie played very, very well in game 1. Kevin Durant, not so much. I think Kevin Durant here, Celtics kind of had his number in game 1. So if the Nets can figure out a way to get Kevin more involved and put up more points like we're used to seeing, I think the Nets have a very good chance of winning this one here tonight and taking it back to their house. Now, you mentioned the Suns. And I woke up I don't know much about refs. Like it blows my mind that people know referees and then know stats on referees, almost like they're players within the game. But this Suns thing that's going on, Scott Foster, an official, is trending this morning. He and his team were refereeing the Suns game last night. Apparently, Chris Paul is 0-12 in his last 12 playoff games officiated by Scott Foster and company.
Wow. Wow.
I haven't watched these closely enough to know if there's, a true conspiracy out there that may have some light on it, but my goodness, that can't be a good sign if you have Scott Foster refereeing your game and Chris Paul's on your team. Let's take that L.
I see Jeremy Kolok nodding his head. Jeremy, what can you tell us about Scott Foster and his officiating specifically on or during Phoenix Suns games?
Well, this goes back before Chris Paul was in Phoenix. Scott Foster and Chris Paul have had a long feud, and Chris Paul has been given technical fouls almost quadruple the rate by Scott Foster than any other ref. So there's been this long thing. It goes back to when Chris Paul was in Houston, and he would get technicals. I don't know if y'all remember, there was this phenomenon of the lowercase t, where Scott Foster did a very lowercase, low key technical foul that he gave to Chris Paul, and Chris Paul, he mimicked it as it was happening. He mocked it, and that was kind of where this feud first it had been going on for a while. They knew they didn't like each other. They both know it, and they're both pretty open about it, but obviously in an NBA unofficial way. And but that was the first moment where everybody kind of saw it boil over a little bit, and it's just been happening for years. And like Shannon said, Chris Paul cannot get a win with Scott Foster on the sidelines. And I'm not really a betting man, but people were talking about this on Twitter yesterday, that Scott Foster was going to officiate this game, and I'm kind of an idiot for not betting on this game. I mean, is there more of a sure thing when you know that Chris Paul cannot get a win on Scott Foster? And that's pretty much as close to rigged as it gets in sports. I mean, we should have bet on. I should have let y'all know, and then we should have bet against the Suns yesterday because they really had no chance from the beginning.
Make some money. As both of you described, Scott Foster and Chris Paul now 0-12 when Scott Foster is the referee. Two things. One, we got to ask Bill Schoening his thoughts on Scott Foster. Two, it reminds me of Joey Crawford. For Spurs fans, Joey Crawford, who is no longer a ref in the league, but he had it out for Tim Duncan and famously threw Tim Duncan out of a game when Tim was on the bench laughing at Joey Crawford, threw him out and then once, and it might have been the same game, he challenged Tim Duncan to a fist fight. He said, you got something for me? Hit me. Come on, hit me. And then we talked with Bill Schoening a few weeks ago about Joey Crawford. His name came up. The NBA suspended Joey Crawford for half a season, the rest of the season that this happened in, and mandated that he go through anger management counseling as part of his return to the NBA. And Shannon, Joey Crawford was one of these guys who you could tell he loved the limelight. He was a showman as an official. He wanted to make the games about him. And I had figured the NBA would have learned its lesson from Joey Crawford and kept referees more anonymous. I don't think it's good for the game. It sure sounds to me, Shannon, like Scott Foster is kind of like Joey Crawford 2.0. He seems.
Yeah.
I mean, when a ref becomes the story, especially in the playoffs, that ain't good, and that ain't good for the NBA.
And again, I don't know how these refs are assigned. I don't have that much information on if they can even say no, I don't want to ref this game, or get to maybe pick or have some I'd love to ref this game. But you mentioned the craving for attention. You have to figure he's starting to feel that way, right? Because it's almost like you can't be on the jury if you have any connection, right, with the case. And it feels like there is a connection going on here where, like Jeremy said, we should be betting on these games. Scott Foster, Chris Paul, I bet on Scott Foster every single time. I mean, the numbers are so lopsided here. You'd think that if he was kind of sounder mind, that he would say, listen, NBA, you got to look at the optics here. It doesn't look great for me. It doesn't look great for you. When I ref these games, it just so happens that Chris Paul and his team lose. It's a pretty long streak at this point. You're going to have people start talking about me and maybe even you guys in a way that you don't want them to do. So maybe put somebody else on this game. But he's not doing that, and it's not being done.
Chris, you might remember when DeMar DeRozan was still in San Antonio, there was, and this is a very specific play, but he was like in one of the games, it was at home, he was driving to the rim and he spun and he traveled. He clearly traveled, but as he was doing the spin, the call was called from an official at half court behind him. And as he was like still spinning, he launched the ball across the court to the official. It didn't seem, like he was trying to hit him with the ball.
Right.
But the official immediately called a technical, and I believe he threw DeMar out of the game.
Yes.
That official was Scott Foster. And a lot of, some classic NBA fans might remember that there was a time when Shaq was in LA where they won a close game and he went to do the post-game interview live on TV and he cursed on TV. And he did it. He doubled down. He did it twice. And it was because he was upset at a referee who was officiating that game, and that referee was Scott Foster.
My goodness. As you connect the dots there, I had heard Scott Foster's name. I had heard some rumbling about him. I forgot that he was the ref that tossed DeMar DeRozan. And when that happened, that was stunning because DeMar DeRozan's not known as a hothead. He's not known as a guy who would throw a ball at an official. That's why it was so weird. We're definitely, when Bill Schoening joins us at 8:05, we will ask him about Scott Foster. And is this a problem for the NBA? See, Shannon, let's assume Phoenix advances, and I mean, that's more of an assumption. They're still, even at 1-1, heavily favored to advance. I've always kind of believed, and it's common sense, if the Golden State Warriors continue to advance, with Steph Curry, with Klay Thompson, with Draymond Green, with Steve Kerr as a head coach, if they get into a series with the Phoenix Suns, and let's say it's a pivotal game 5 or a game 7, Warriors Suns, and Scott Foster is the ref, I mean, I would certainly look at that as the NBA wants the Warriors to advance. It's better for revenue. It's better for ratings. It's better for money making for everybody. Warriors would bring more sizzle, I think, than the Phoenix Suns. So that's why I think the NBA is having a credibility problem here if they don't do something about Scott Foster.
Oh my gosh, if I was Chris Paul and that was the scenario that played out, I might quit. My career might be over because Chris Paul, he's he can never get there, right? That's the whole thing with Chris Paul. And to be on these teams that he's been on as of late, and to now have Scott Foster be the one that's in your way, I'd quit. I wouldn't be able to handle it.
Well, and one other thing I do want to mention, we're here and we're talking about Phoenix. We're talking about Scott Foster. We just talked a lot about Boston versus Brooklyn. We talked about Memphis and John Morant. While we're doing this again, very quietly, and I'm tying it in a little bit to winning time and the Lakers, the Miami Heat just, and they went to the finals a couple of years ago against the Lakers and won the East. You look at all of the time that Pat Riley has been there, that Eric Spoelstra has been there with different lineups. And Jimmy Butler's a big deal, but he's not a Kevin Durant. He's not a Kyrie Irving. He's not a John Morant. He's very, very good, but I wouldn't call Jimmy Butler a superstar. I'd call him a star. But Miami wins again last night. Granted, they're playing Atlanta, so we'll see later in the playoffs. But, they had the best record in the East, Shannon, and just they're very quiet. They used to say that about the Spurs. The Spurs would quietly just win, and then you get into the playoffs against them, and they'd kill you, and they'd advance. And before you know it, they're in the finals and winning championships. This Miami Heat team, and again, Pat Riley, who we're paying close attention to in winning time in the drama, and Eric Spoelstra, who if he coaches as long as Pop does, he's going to be up there very, very high on the all-time coaching list someday. Miami Heat, I think, are a team to keep an eye on in the East.
Yeah, I would certainly say so. I mean, I was almost surprised when in the bubble they're the ones that made it to the finals. And again, that could, toss that up to it being the bubble, whatever. But there is something going on in that organization, and they've kind of quietly, rebuilt after, LeBron leaving, Dwayne Wade, ending his career. And I agree, Jimmy Butler is more of a name, a star in name rather, I think, than star in play compared to the other big names, the Chris Pauls, the LeBrons. All of the other guys we tend to talk about, but they could quietly, sneak their way into a deep run in these playoffs.
We will continue to talk NBA a little bit later with Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown on a 420 Wednesday. We've got sports history, sports birthdays, and more. Go vote on our poll question, who is the greatest American stoner? And you can dial us up, and we're getting some reaction. We'll play them on the air. Go to the free iHeartRadio app. Press the feedback button, which is a microphone button. Talk back. I don't know why I call it feedback, and I'm not high. I swear to God. It's 420, but I am not high. Although Afro Man is. We'll play some Afro Man coming up. It is Talkback, the Talkback button. What is the greatest stoner movie of all time? We've got some debate on that as well. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok is your Soundscape Stylist. I'm Chris. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Legalize it. That's what Jeremy's playing. Don't criticize it. All right. I am going to try to record a little bit more here for a moment. I'm going to mute it up for a sec. Yeah, Manuel, I'm with you on Cheech and Chong, man. They are huge. True, James. Joey Crawford kind of fueled the Spurs. All right, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, I got to do two more things here. Foam Foot Reefer Madness, a classic. John Williams is mentioning that. Manuel Gonzalez, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's the one that came to mind for me. All right, let's see. I've got to do both of these tags. Man, Platoon, Ralph, with Willem Dafoe and Charlie Sheen, and that was just such a powerful movie by Oliver Stone. All right, I got to record two more tags, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, let me do this. Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. Very, very good one there, John Williams. All right, I need to edit, select. Whoops. Wow. Amber, very good. What's your favorite stoner snack? That's good. All righty. Jason says THC infused gummies. See, Amber, they're already answering your question. Lucinda Sullivan, White Castles, AKA sliders. Okay, there it is. Sports history, sports birthdays. All right. Here we come. Afro Man. Playing a little Afro Man.
Shannon B. Sweeney.
Little Afro Man for you on a 420.
Find the broom, but then I got high.
The pride of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Afro Man.
And I know what. Hey, 'cause I got high. Because I got high.
He'd be good on our poll question as well. Who is America's greatest stoner? Welcome in on 420. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. On our poll question, we gave you 3 chances, but left one open for you. If you got another one, we said, is it Tommy Chong, Snoop Dogg, or Willie Nelson? Or do you have another one as America's greatest stoner as we vote on 420? People have suggested Matthew McConaughey. Yep, he should be on the list. Joe Rogan, now a Texan in Austin. Yes. Elon Musk, maybe the richest stoner ever on earth. But Afro Man, where's the love for Afro Man and that song, Because I Got High? I'm just saying, Afro Man deserves a little bit more respect.
I'm just saying.
Thank you, Juice. Someday, we should have had Afro Man on the show on 420. I will try to remember that for next year. Welcome in, Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Getting a lot of reaction, by the way, and we're looking for yours at the free iHeart Radio app, the talkback feature. A lot of people telling us who they think America's greatest stoner is, or what is the greatest stoner movie of all time. And we've got yet another question. Amber on Facebook Live says, what is your favorite stoner snack? To which Lucinda says White Castle hamburgers, and Jason Paniagua says THC infused gummies. Jason, don't go flying in Russia, man. I'm just saying. All right, coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown on this Wednesday 420 holiday. But first, how about some 420 birthdays and this day in sports history? 420, 1912. Fenway Park officially opens. Can you believe it's that old? The Red Sox beat the New York Highlanders 7-6 in 11 innings. Another ballpark opened on 420. In 1916, the Chicago Cubs played their first game at Weigman Park, which is now called Wrigley Field. And the Cubs beat the Cincinnati Reds 7-6. Speaking of the Reds, this guy would eventually pitch for the Reds. In 1967, New York Mets pitcher Tom Seaver, now a Hall of Famer, wins his first game, and the Mets beat the Cubs 6-1. Finally, on this day in 2008, Danica Patrick, driving for the Andretti Green Racing Team, wins the Indy Japan 300. She became the first female driver in history to win an IndyCar Series event. That's your sports history. How about some 420 birthdays? Born on 420, 1925. Former Cowboys assistant coach under Tom Landry, Ernie Stautner, who was a Pro Football Hall of Fame defensive end for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ernie Stautner was born in Cham, Bavaria, Germany. Ernie Stautner passed away in 2006. Born on 420, 1940, member of Tom Landry's Doomsday Defense, defensive end number 66, George Andre. 5-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, George Andre, born in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He passed away in 2018. And finally, born on this day in 1945, College Football Hall of Fame quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner, in 1966 out of Florida. Played a little bit in the NFL at quarterback, but mostly known as a head coach at Florida and South Carolina. Steve Spurrier, born on 4/20/1945 in Miami Beach, Florida. Them's your 420 birthdays and history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, monkeys, and stoners, here it is, your 420 Salty Shakedown.
We just had someone mention, stoner snacks, stoner munchies, and I would put up there maybe chicken wings, because people tend to love them. The operations that sell them tend to be open pretty late, and a lot of people might say Hooters if they had to pick a favorite. I still have never been to a Hooters. But that maybe John Daly and his son will sway me to check it out one day, because the NIL ruling has allowed so many new partnerships to take place, partnerships we maybe never would have imagined. And this, I think, is now one of them, because not only is this a first for Hooters, but it is a first for the NIL, because it is a father-son partnership with John Daly and his son, Daly II, partnering up with the chicken wing chain Hooters. I didn't realize this. John Daly and Hooters, they go way back. Because when you think the Masters and the prestige that is the Masters and Augusta National, you think Hooters. At least that's what comes to mind with John Daly, because he has this tradition where every year during the Masters, he goes to the local Hooters and does meet and greets with fans. And that's just something he's always done. And so I guess little Daly II has come along to many of these. And now that he is a golfer for the University of Arkansas, he has taken a likeness to Hooters as well. John Daly describes Hooters as, quote, authentic fun. I can't imagine everything in that restaurant is, quote unquote, authentic, but I'll let others be the judge of that. Chris, listen, I'm all for kids getting their payday. I don't know how good of a golfer Daly II is. I know that the two did win a paired up tournament not too long ago. But this has to be weird. I mean, maybe it's just because I'm a woman, and I feel like it's played off as like a rite of passage when a son turns of a certain age and his father takes him to Hooters. But to get into business with them at the same time, I just don't know about this. And why is John Daly getting NIL deals?
I've always found Hooters hilarious in that men will say, "Ooh, we're going to Hooters for the chicken wings. Oh, yeah. They got great." And you want to see scantily clad young women, if not girls, in their little orange, tiny short shorts and their little, not so little halter tops and things that may or may not be authentic. I've just found Hooters laughable, but they're wildly successful. And the nudge, nudge, wink, wink, owls in the logo. I just thought, if you're gonna be a Hooters enthusiast, just go all the way and go to a strip club. They got chicken wings there, and you don't have to leave anything to the imagination. I mean, if you're going to go all in. But yeah, I find it weird, and maybe that is, I told you guys back in the day when they had the chicken ranch in LaGrange, I had heard of kids, their dad on their 16th birthday taking them to the chicken ranch in LaGrange, and many of you know what was there. But I guess your modern day, less invasive rite of passage for a father and his son might be Hooters. I don't know. And certainly with this NIL deal with John Daly and his son, maybe that becomes more of a thing now.
I guess if you were to say, hey, a PGA champion will partner with Hooters, I guess John Daly would be the name that would come to mind. I think second might be a Dustin Johnson, but that's just me. And for those unaware,
Tiger better stay away from that
Hooters
place.
is expanding with a fast casual chain called Hoots Wings. There's going to be one that's opening up soon in Round Rock. I guess they're trying to get into that space, and maybe that's why they signed the Dailies to this NIL deal. The younger generation maybe not going to sit down service restaurants as much, so they're getting into that space and using him as a person to spread that message. All right, moving on to baseball. Baseball back in action, and I love the Astros. They're currently wearing a patch on one of their sleeves that is celebrating an anniversary year for them. I believe it's like 65 or something of that nature. So I've loved seeing that so far this season. It even appears in the MLB The Show game. But I'll have to check out the Padres because yesterday they announced that they are the first MLB team to now have a jersey sponsor. They have a Motorola patch that has been added, and it is quite large. That Batwing Motorola logo now on the right sleeve of their jerseys. Motorola, not just the sleeve patch sponsor, but they've also will be the presenting sponsor of the Padres Hall of Fame and the official smartphone for the Padres. I didn't realize that anyone owned a Motorola smartphone. I thought it was Samsung or iPhone or I don't know, a flip Nokia phone if you still had those. Wasn't aware. But Chris, there was all this discussion right when the NBA started to put sponsorships on the floor, and a lot of teams now have that really tiny patch on their chest. I think at first people thought it would kind of take away from the overall uniform. There might be this argument in baseball when you have those baseball purists start coming out and saying, wait a minute. I mean, doesn't baseball make enough money as it is? But Padres seem to be the beginning of a trend here. What do you think about this and patches coming to MLB uniforms?
I'm a purist when it comes to uniforms, Shannon. I hate that they're messed with, and I do believe it's a slippery slope. I think eventually, I mean, you look at the WNBA, a lot of their jerseys, it's not even the team name. It's this way as well for Austin FC, isn't it, with Yeti? I mean,
well, that's all of MLS.
The brand, yeah, okay, yes. So the MLS is there. The WNBA is there where like the brand is bigger than the team name. And I mean, my God, I think it'll eventually be like NASCAR where there'll be like 20 different patches and brands on a team. I realize it's money generated, but I do not like it. I like old school uniforms that were, untainted by advertising,
unsullied by sponsors.
Thank you,
there
sir.
You go.
Much more poetic.
Yeah.
You should be a poet, sir. Very, very good. Jeremy's on fire
for
today, by the way.
For the MLS, I would argue that their money probably comes mostly from those advertisements versus actual fans in the stands and TV generated avenue, but they're working their way up to the NFL, MLB, and NBA level. All right, keeping it in the world of baseball, I think you're gonna like this one, Chris. Last night the Yankees took on the Tigers, and Gerrit Cole got the start, but he was only in for 1 2/3 innings. He has not had a great start to his season. You could call it the curse of leaving the Astros when a lot of folks wanted him to stay. But in a lesson of, maybe fact check some news and headlines before you go and say them over the air, the Angels were taking on the Astros. And I guess because Gerrit Cole still has that link to the Astros, the Angels broadcasters felt the need to announce this during the game. So I'll let you hear what the Angels broadcasters said, and then I'll tell you why it's wrong.
In his first 2 starts, and he had promised to an underprivileged school in New York before that ball game that he would donate 600 MacBooks if he went 2 innings or more tonight in that ball game. Certainly a nice gesture on his part. He ended up getting taken out of the game going an inning and 2/3.
Wow.
Chris, I don't know how they read this and thought that it was true, but satire Twitter page at New York Porch Sport, which does have 14,000 followers, so maybe by that they thought it was legit, but they had tweeted that Gerrit Cole promised to donate, as they said, 600 MacBooks to underprivileged school children if he went 2 or more innings. Clearly a joke because the starting pitcher is supposed to be going more than 2 innings. They're supposed to really play for most of the game. And by the way, 600 MacBooks, if you went with the cheapest version before taxes, that's $780,000. I know Gerrit Cole's not hurting for money, but wow. I can't imagine he'd just randomly shell that out on MacBooks. And this same account at New York Porch Sport that does these satire tweets, they actually got the Today Show back in March when they tweeted that the MLB was considering getting rid of bunting, that they were going to place a ban on bunting, and the Today Show then reported it live. So always fact check, sir. Chris and I, we've got to do that as well. When we report breaking news, we got to make sure that it's coming from the appropriate source. But what a story for them to share with everyone listening to that Angels and Astros broadcast last night.
Very cool. I was watching last night when Garrett Cole got run in that Yankees-Tigers game. I was so happy, but then the Yankees won the game ultimately over the Tigers, which bummed me out. But yeah, I do sports hate, and it's not real hate, it's sports hate. I sports hate Garrett Cole for turning his back on the Houston Astros. So, but someday I forgave Kawhi.
Yeah.
Someday I'll forgive Garrett Cole.
Yeah. Maybe you can forgive Garrett Cole and his suffering. But there it is, today's Salty Shakedown.
Outstanding Salty Shakedown as always. My goodness, a little Hooters in there, jersey sponsors, Garrett Cole. I wonder now if Garrett Cole, obviously it was a fake story, and you talked about how much those MacBooks would cost, but it might be a little nudge for him to do something for charity. And actually, even at $780,000, Garrett Cole's loaded. I mean, if anybody could afford that. And I know that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But Garrett Cole should just say, all right, I'll show you. I'll go ahead and do it.
Well, and even if that were to have been true, would you blame Garrett Cole or the Yankees for pulling him early?
Oh, great question. Probably the Yankees, but
right.
It could be a little of both. If he were a total dirtbag, if it were true, it's like, I'm going to go really screw this up, make sure I'm yanked before the end of the second inning. So it's a great question. But I do think he's a dirtbag.
He's a clean-shaven dirtbag, though.
He's a exactly. If you're going to be a dirtbag, be a clean-shaven dirtbag. So, and Jeremy, by the way, kudos for your poetic sullying of jerseys line.
Excellent work.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Stole that from the great Ernie Johnson.
Well, see, I thought that was yours. Wow, you're channeling Ernie Johnson.
Yeah.
Hey, you shouldn't have told me. I was like, man, that dude can just create poetry.
No. It's only Shannon literally just talked about fake news, someone getting duped by a story. I'm not trying to lie to the people.
All right. And thank you for not lying to the people. A little Afro Man for you once again on 420. Coming up, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs and our NBA analyst, Bill Schoening. We'll ask him about the notorious referee, Scott Foster, the bane of Chris Paul's existence. That and a lot more. We'll talk Austin FC versus San Antonio FC a little later with Jason Garcia and a whole lot more. Don't go anywhere. We're celebrating 420 with you and Afro Man on the Chris Duel Show. All right. Let's see. Woo. I'm going to go get some more ice for my iced tea. Give you a little Jeremy Kolok for your viewing pleasure. And then I'll be back.
Savvy real estate investors know having the best data can make all the difference. Flip Properties provides comprehensive nationwide real estate data so you can get a leg up on the competition. Be empowered with the latest data, marketing solutions, and investor tools. Flip Properties is perfect for wholesalers, investors, landlords, realtors, fix and flippers, and more. Use data to make informed decisions. Visit flipproperties.com and register today for a free 7-day trial. That's flipproperties.com.
Help PEA keep our community safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, April 30th. Find a collection site near you at PEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent drug misuse before it starts.
All right. Woo! 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 All right, now I have to see if I can edit. So, let me find my Bill Schoening. Bill's going to join us. There's Bill. He'll be with us in the next seg. I need to. See, I need to copy that. I need to open up another one. Okay, that goes 53 seconds. That looks pretty long. Objects are here. 710318. See what we're up against. That's 8 seconds. Yikes. Maybe this might just work. All right, let's see.
Don't go through another summer with that awful joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now. Chris Duel here. That pain in your back, your knees, your shoulder, it can now be treated with the latest in precision medicine using natural biologics, growth factors that can restore and repair damaged tissue. Great, exciting stuff here. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, giving you access right here to this modern-day joint pain solution. You can get lasting joint pain relief with no drugs, no steroids, no downtime, and no surgery. You've heard Emmett Smith raving about QC Kinetics. You've read or seen other high-profile people raving about it. Regenerative medicine and QC Kinetics can help you get your life back. Take action now. Get a free consultation. Powerful, effective joint pain treatments with natural biologics are here. Call QC Kinetics now. 210-571-0318 in Hollywood Park and Westover Hills. 210-571-0318. That's 210-571-0318.
All right. Jeremy is calling the great Bill Schoening. Kevin Monk says, Garrett Cole reminds me of Jack Parkman in Minor League 2. Even when he was on my team, he's still a dick, as Harry Doyle would say. Very nice. Kevin Monk and Fuego. Oh, I got to write a quick note. Here we come.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
Whoa.
You know the day destroys the night.
Got to mute for a sec. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Jeremy Kolok is your Soundscape Stylist on this Wednesday, April 20th, aka 420, to our stoner listeners and friends out there. Someday to be a national holiday. Not yet legal in Texas, but just putting it out there. If you're listening from another state, whatever gets you through the morning. We appreciate it. Lots coming up. By the way, just after 8:30, a big clash tonight between Austin and San Antonio. MLS Austin FC in San Antonio at Toyota Field to take on San Antonio FC. Just after 8:30, we'll speak with one of the board members of the Crocketeers soccer supporter group in San Antonio, Jason Garcia. We'll also play the feedback we've gotten from you from the free iHeart Radio app throughout the morning. We'll do that just after 8:30. But first, right now, we always love having him on Wednesdays. He has been our go-to guy throughout the Spurs basketball season, which ended a week ago tonight in New Orleans. So now we christen him our NBA analyst for the NBA playoffs, our NBA playoff analyst. but maybe we need to make him a baseball analyst because he was calling a baseball game last night. He's always working. The one and only Bill Schoening. Bill, how you doing this morning?
Very good this morning, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
See, Bill, you do all the heavy lifting during the Spurs season and the Spurs broadcasts. After Wednesday, I took the whole weekend to just kind of relax and recover. And even though I just do my little part on those broadcasts, it's 99% of it is you. And here you are, instead of taking the week off, you're out calling a Texas State Bobcats baseball game. What was that about last night?
They were playing UTSA last night. That game was up in San Marcos. They're in different conferences right now. Of course, UTSA is in Conference USA and Texas State's in the Sun Belt. But they both have pretty good baseball programs. But last night was one of those games where it's one of those midweek games, and you kind of run out of pitching after the weekend. So it was a 14-12 slugfest last night that took a little over 4 hours.
Whoa.
So, yeah, so I renegotiated my deal, Chris. Last night I got paid by the syllable. And, but it was still fun, even with 8 pitching changes on each side, I believe. That took a while. But give credit to UTSA. They were going into the 9th inning. They were down 14-5, and they scored 7 runs. And they actually had the tying run at second base. But Texas State was able to pull it out. But it was good. I love college baseball. I have missed it since I was doing the Longhorns back 21 years ago. So the last couple of years I've had a chance to kind of pinch hit for some guys and do a few games at UTSA. And last year I did a couple of Division II games at St. Ed's, just kind of get back into it. And this year I'm doing some Texas State and UTSA.
Well, Bill, I have to imagine at some point you will take a vacation, and a lot of things are opening back up compared to the past 2 previous summers. So anything planned in the horizon for Bill Schoening when he does finally put down the microphone and relax for a minute?
Well, I think you guys know me well enough to know that I travel in the summer, or try to. And of course, COVID put a big dent in travel plans last couple of summers. But this summer, we're going to do the national parks. We've already done 25 of them. So it's my goal to reach them all. I won't. There's 62 of them. It's impossible to get to them all. But we'll try to get as many as we can. So this year, it's the western part of Colorado. There's a park called the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. There's Mesa Verde, where they have the ancient Indian dwellings, Chris, which is pretty interesting. I've never been there. You kind of go up on a ladder and you actually go into the cave where these dwellings are. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then they also have the sand dunes up there. So maybe hike on the gypsum mines not the mines, but the salts there for a little bit. So it'll be fun. And I'm looking forward to Colorado. One of the things I want to do this summer too, Chris, is in September when Emmanuel David Ginobili gets inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. I've already got my credentials secured and a couple of tickets to make sure that I see Manu go in. So that's going to be a special time in Springfield, Massachusetts, at the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in early September. So we're planning a whole little New England trip around that, some time in Vermont, up in the White Mountains. So it's the Green Mountains of Vermont and the White Mountains of New Hampshire, I believe. I always get them mixed up, but it's a real pretty part of the country. So that'll be in September. And then, of course, we have our annual trip to the Jersey Shore. Yo, how you doing? How you doing? Good. How you doing? No, Joe. Yo, how you doing? So that's the trip to the Jersey Shore. That's the way people talk on the Jersey Shore, by the way. And so that's it. It's a pretty busy summer ahead.
Well, and as busy as that is, and first of all, I love that you're going to go see Manu Ginobili's induction into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. But as you outlined all those things, Bill, you left out book signing your new book, Stories, Sports, and Songs, Tales and Tunes by a Play-by-Play Lifer. We've discussed it at some point, a San Antonio book signing and an Austin book signing. Any more thoughts on that? Anything yet?
I'm trying to get this guy, Chris Duel, to be my MC. Man, he tries a hard bargain. I think he wants a couple of drink tickets, I think is what he wants. So I'm not sure. So, no, we'll have an announcement pretty soon on that, which should be sometime in May. We'll do a little book signing in San Antonio, and part book signing, part fun. I just want to have a little hangout deal and, maybe sell a couple of books, sign a couple of books. That's fine. It's not, I'd like just to get together with everybody. That'd be pretty cool.
Absolutely. And as soon as there's news on that, we will certainly pass that along to all of our listeners and our viewers. He is Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs. Bill, it must be interesting for you or unusual for you. Once the Spurs season ends, as it did a week ago tonight, I know when you watch NBA games during the season, you're looking at them analytically and discerningly, knowing, down the line the Spurs will be playing or may play one of these teams. When you watch the NBA playoffs, when the Spurs are not in it, is it a different experience for you? Just are you able to be a fan, or does that analytic NBA play-by-play mind always kick in?
No, I try to be a fan and just watch the games, and I try not to pull against certain teams or pull for teams, but you just have built-in biases. Maybe one of your better friends is the play-by-play guy at that particular team, or the coach. Like with the case of the Boston Celtics, Ime Udoka, it's really hard for me to pull against Ime because he was with the Spurs for so long and, was such a loyal lieutenant to Greg Popovich for so long. And of course, he had 2 stints as a player as well as an assistant coach. So, certain guys, it's hard to pull against them because you know them and you have a personal relationship with them.
Well, and Boban, of course, a part of my Dallas Mavericks, and they are in a series against the Jazz. It's currently tied 1-1. Luke is still uncertain for tonight, but since the Mavericks got that win to pull it back to an even series, I'm feeling more confident than I was beforehand. What's your take on this matchup?
Well, I thought Brunson was amazing in Game 2. I've always liked Jalen Brunson. I knew his dad, Rick, who played at Temple and then played in the league for about a dozen years. So when Jalen Brunson, who was a champion at Villanova, came out late in the first round, I thought that was a good pick for the Dallas Mavericks. It turned out to be a very good pick. He's been a very solid guard for them. And at one point came off the bench, but now, his ability to get in the lane, hit those floaters. He's also had some threes. He seems to be a really good team leader. So he really stepped up in Doncic's absence, but it will be important for the length of the series to get Luka back. They're going to need him to win the series. But that was a very good win in Game 2. Really kind of kept them in the series. If they go back to Salt Lake down 2-0, I think that'd be very, very difficult for them. So, good for the Mavs. As far as Boban's concerned, of course, he's not playing very much in the series. But have you guys had a chance to pick up any of those coasters? I want one of those coasters that he's got on that commercial with the State Farm guy, because I think that's awesome. Again, not every player likes rings, right? So there's rings on the coffee table. So anyway, I would love to have one of those coasters. I would definitely put my cup of tea on there.
Those are tremendous coasters. They sure should be marketing those if they're not already. Talking hoops with Bill Schoening. Bill, earlier in the show, we talked about the upset of the night last night in Phoenix as the New Orleans Pelicans beat the Phoenix Suns 125-114, evening that series at 1-1. They go to New Orleans now to the Smoothie King Center. And the name that came up this morning, and it's trending, he's trending on social media, Scott Foster, the official. Apparently, Chris Paul is now 0-12 when Scott Foster is the official. Jeremy reminded us that it was Scott Foster who tossed DeMar DeRozan from a Spurs game when after a travel, DeMar tossed the ball in the direction of Scott Foster, who then called the double T and ejected DeMar DeRozan. A lot of us thought that was a little bit ridiculous. I'm starting to have Joey Crawford flashbacks, Bill. Joey seemed to have it out for Tim Duncan. Is it possible that Scott Foster could have it out for Chris Paul? Do you think this is an issue in the NBA?
I would certainly hope not. I would hope that would be a coincidence. I haven't seen all 12 of those games to be able to tell you there was a trend all along the way. Maybe 0-12 is an indicator of some sort. But I've gotten to know Scott a little bit through the years, and he seems like a really good guy, and he seems like a stand-up guy. I always thought he was a pretty good official. But 0-12 is a number to look at, isn't it? So I'm not exactly sure. I think that there are certain guys, certain officials that, for whatever reason, teams don't play very well with that guy officiating. Not that he's making a call against them. It's just that kind of happens sometimes. There's certain players in the league that play well against certain other teams. Remember Jarrett Jack for a while was like a Spurs killer, and he was basically a backup point guard most of his career. But man, when he came in the game, watch out, Jarrett Jack was going to torch the Spurs. So just certain guys play well against certain teams, and maybe the same thing is with officials, where certain teams just don't play well for whatever reason when that guy's got the whistle that night.
Another playoff story, of course, the Nets versus Boston over in the East. And even though you would think the main story would be what's happening on the floor, it seems to be more about Kyrie versus Boston Celtics fans. He was recently fined $50,000 for showing some fans the bird and cursing at a few of them. Obviously, he's also taking that. They're not getting fined. Do you think we'll see more of that from Kyrie, or do you think after this recent fine, he'll settle down and just focus on what's right in front of him on the court?
I may be a distant observer on this, Shannon, but there always seems to be at least a little bit of drama around Kyrie. So I don't know that drama will end, because it seems like wherever he goes and wherever he plays, there's another storyline or two in addition to what's going on the floor. So I don't expect that to stop.
And I wonder, Bill, Boston fans and Celtics fans in particular, since we're talking NBA, obviously there's a lot of angst because Kyrie was a Boston Celtic. He said he'd stick around. He did not. He left to go to Brooklyn and be part of a super team. So obviously those fans have a lot of venom for Kyrie Irving, and it's kind of mutual at this point. Boston fans have been known to be vocal and vociferous, and maybe even crude over the years. Is there a fan base as you travel around the NBA calling Spurs games? Does any specific arena or fan base stand out with really, really demonstrative, loud fans that maybe have more of an impact on the game than others?
I would say Boston, Philly. Certainly, the fans in Philadelphia, as you know, Chris, being a Cowboy fan and knowing how the Eagles fans feel about the Cowboys, they can go over the top on occasion. In fact, I just read Vern Lundquist's autobiography, and he was telling the story about how he and I can't remember who he was with, maybe Pat Summerall. He was working a game in the booth. It would have been Pat Summerall, but I'm not sure who it was. But they ended up ducking away from snowballs being thrown in the booth at the old vet in Philadelphia. The Eagles weren't doing very well, so the fans, having access to snow, decided to take it out on the CBS broadcasters. So poor Vern Lundquist was ducking in the press box. Not a proud moment for Philadelphia fans, but I think Philly's right up there with Boston. I'll tell you, it's a tough place to play, Salt Lake City. The fans there really get into it. They're loud. They're, when there's not a lot else going on in that particular town, San Antonio, for a long, long time, right? I mean, as far as like that being the number one, not that there's not a lot of other stuff going on in town, I meant as far as being the number one focus for fans in that particular city. Unlike LA, for instance, not that the fans in LA don't get into it, but it's more of a laid back crowd. But you go to places like Boston and Philly and New York, and places where they really kind of center everything around basketball, like they do in Salt Lake for the Jazz, then I think that it can be a tougher place to play.
Well, and we've talked about Philly fans in addition to Boston fans, but Bill, you and your son Carl Schoening, both friends of this show, the two of you rehabilitate the reputation of Philadelphia fans for us. It's good that we know two Philadelphia fans who are good people, don't throw snowballs, and people we like. So you do Philadelphia proud is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I don't boo a lot. I'm a pretty fair, leveled fan. A lot of my fellow Philly fans maybe take it a step too far. I get that. I understand. The funniest time I think I went to an Eagles watch party when they were playing the Cowboys, and there were two Cowboy fans in the whole place, and they were making a little bit too much noise being an Eagles bar. So I told the guys that Guido and Vito from South Philly were at the next table, and they're not real happy with their particular yelling. And the look on their face, there was no Guido, no Vito. There was no guy with a violin case.
Right.
That wasn't happening. But these two guys were decked out in their Cowboy stuff. And I said, you realize you're at an Eagles bar and Guido and Vito are at the next table. And they pretty much stayed quiet the rest of the night for some reason.
Very, very nice. Well, Bill, I got to ask you about another basketball related story. It's one of the trending stories today. Shannon and Jeremy and I have been loving the HBO Max drama about the Lakers called Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. And even if you haven't seen it yet, or for people listening, if you haven't seen it, what we've talked about is, and I was surprised from episode 1, the way they portray Jerry West as kind of a hothead, loses his temper at one point. He's not happy about Laker personnel decisions. So on a golf course, he breaks a golf club over his knee. There's another scene where he takes a trophy and throws it through a window in the offices, shattering the glass. They portray him as a heavy drinker and just a really quirky, volatile character. And I remember saying to Shannon and Jeremy, it's like, man, I remember Jerry West playing for the Lakers. I remember the 72 Lakers championship team that West and Wilt Chamberlain were on. And I remember Jerry West as a Lakers and NBA executive. And I never knew those things about Jerry West. Well, we find out yesterday, Jerry West and his attorneys have sent a letter to the producers of Winning Time demanding a retraction and an apology. They call this a baseless and malicious assault on his character. Now, HBO says, hey, it's a dramatization. We have a disclaimer at the beginning of this series that it is dramatized, but it certainly seems like they are extremely dramatizing Jerry West. Your thoughts, Bill, after all of your years as a fan and a broadcaster of Jerry West, and do you think he's got a case here against a TV show that is portraying him negatively?
Well, my only exposure to Jerry West was I think I interviewed him a couple of times through the years, and I remember sitting courtside at a Golden State Warriors playoff game a few years ago, and he patiently waited for Manu to get through his pregame warmups because he wanted to come over and shake his hand, and it was right next to me. I took a picture of it. I figured the Hall of Famer and a future Hall of Famer because, obviously Manu was toward the end of his career at that point, and the respect that Jerry West had for Manu. And so I don't know what was going on behind closed doors in all those Lakers executive offices, but it's just hard for me to imagine him, being exhibiting that kind of behavior because he always seemed like a very professional guy from the time he was a player. He coached for a little bit and, of course, an executive. So I can understand why he's upset and why this, letter has been written. I mean, because that's your reputation. And even though it is a dramatization and they may say that, a lot of people don't look at it that way. A lot of people now will think of Jerry West as a mean guy who didn't treat people right. And that may or may not be true, but it may or may not be fair either. And I don't know that, it's fair if you portray someone to be a certain way when he really wasn't. And that's probably why he's so upset. And I understand it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that resolves itself, if indeed it does. Finally, Bill, we talked about it, and as soon as we get information and we're going to see what happens as far as and promote a book signing for your new book, Stories, Sports, and Songs, Tales and Tunes by a Play-by-Play Lifer on the live video feed. I've got my copy in my hand. We all highly recommend it. Bill, it's Amazon, I think, is the easiest place. Unless you've got another one for people to go get it, that you can get the Kindle edition or the actual book itself. For people who haven't gotten the book yet, what are they going to find in your new book?
Oh, it's basically a collection of stories, Chris, from my life, from my early days growing up in Philadelphia in the inner city, next to a playground playing ball, all the way through broadcasting school, playing high school baseball, and then off to my small market start and little towns in Illinois and West Texas, and just kind of climbing the play-by-play ladder. And a lot of different things have happened in my career and in my life that I share in the book. A lot of it's funny. It's been a pretty humorous ride. And of course, I always tried to find humor in wherever I go and whatever happens. And I always try to make a positive out of a negative. So there are a few occasions where in the book something negative happens, but I try to flip it and make it a positive. So anyway, that's just basically it. It's $15, $9 on Kindle. And I'm having fun because I'm getting a lot of feedback from different folks that I hadn't heard from in a while that are enjoying the book.
It's very, very cool. Go to Amazon, just put Bill's name into the search engine and it'll pop up. That's one of the easiest ways to go find it. Great reading, great springtime and summer reading as well. Bill Schoening, have yourself a great weekend. What's your next? Do you got another baseball game? What's your next play-by-play on tap? Do you have another one coming?
Yeah, big weekend series between Florida International and the Roadrunners of Texas, San Antonio, UTSA, over there at Roadrunner Field this weekend.
He
Birds up.
He never stops calling games. He's amazing, even when the Spurs season has ended. Bill Schoening, always fun, man. Thanks so much. Enjoy your next call, and we hope to talk to you next week. Thanks so much, Bill.
I'll be on next week. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate
Beautiful.
it.
We
Bye-bye.
love it. Thanks so much, Bill Schoening. Go get his book, and then hang on to it for the book. That's why you want to get the book and not the Kindle, because if he signs your Kindle, which he could with a Sharpie, I may have him sign the back of my Kindle, because I got the Kindle before I got the actual book. We may do that. Coming up, we've got your talk back. We'll play your talk back. We got some feedback from you on greatest stoners ever and more. We'll play that. And Jason Garcia of the Crocketeers talking about tonight's big clash between Austin FC and San Antonio FC at Toyota Field in San Antonio. That and more. We're with you till 9. It's the Chris Duel Show. There's that. Let me look at this. All right, I am back to editing some of these spots in a sec. All right, back at it. What do I have here? Okay, I did one, correct? Yes. Now I need to do another one. There's 4 of these. Did you let him know that we're going to play a few of the talkbacks first? Yeah, just let him know, once we come to air, it'll take a couple of minutes, but we'll get to him as quick as we can. Thanks. All right.
Call QC Kinetics now. You'll be glad you did. QC Kinetics 571-0318.
Wow.
Don't go through another summer with that awful joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now. Chris Duel here. That pain in your back, your knees, your shoulder, it can now be treated with the latest in precision medicine using natural biologics, growth factors that can restore and repair damaged tissue. Really exciting stuff here. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, giving you access right here to this modern-day joint pain solution. You can get lasting joint pain relief with no drugs, no steroids, no downtime, and no surgery. You've heard Emmett Smith raving about QC Kinetics. You better see other high-profile people talking about it. Regenerative medicine and QC Kinetics can help you get your life back. Take action now for a free consultation. Powerful, effective joint pain treatments with natural biologics here. Call QC Kinetics now. 210-571-0318 in Hollywood Park and Westover Hills. 210-571-0318. That's 210-571-0318.
Okay, we did that one. Number 2. All right, let me see here. Wow, that game's at 3:00. Where's their website? I thought that was like a 7:30 game. We'll get Jason Garcia on to tell us more about that. San Antonio FC versus Austin FC. Nope. It's 8:00. Okay, on their website. I thought that was wrong. I'm glad I checked that out. All right. Fun, fun, fun. Woo! Jason Paniagua says, scientists have discovered that smoking marijuana lowers your body temperature, so smoking weed makes you cool. Didn't we always know that? Not the kids tell me that, not that I would know. You know, the kids tell me. I've told this story. I may not have time to tell it right now. Laguna Beach, my sister owned like this beach house trailer-ish kind of thing. And underneath it, these kids from Corona Del Mar High School would be smoking weed. And the kids wound up being the band Sugar Ray, including whatever the dude's name is. And they'd say, "Hey, Uncle Chris, you want to smoke some weed?" I'm good. Thanks. Here we go.
Back to the Chris Duel.
Little lowrider for you, submitted for your approval by Soundscape Stylist Jeremy Kolok. Chris Duel Show on 420. Coming up, Jason Garcia of the Crocketeers fan supporter group. He'll be there tonight at Toyota Field as San Antonio FC takes on Austin FC in the big Open North American Open Cup. Before that, we've been telling you about the feedback that we get on Talkback on the free iHeartRadio app. A lot of people reacting today to the question of who's the greatest stoner ever on 420, greatest stoner movie. Jeremy, before we go to Jason Garcia, about how many of these, how many talkbacks are we going to play here, do you think?
We have 4 in total.
4 in total. Okay, we'll go through the 4 real quick. Let's let them rip. Here's number 1. What do we got?
Good morning, Chris, Salty, and Jeremy. This is Kevin checking in. With the poll question, I just wanted to say that I think Friday is such a ridiculous movie and off the charts as far as a stoner movie goes. To me, the best American stoner is Woody Harrelson, because White Men Can't Jump was like an anthem for me. And finally, I just want to mention, since you have Bill coming on, that I bought his book, though I haven't been able to dive into it yet. I got the hard copy, and I'm excited to read it. So have a great day.
Chris, Shannon, love your show. 3 of my favorite movies would be High, Half Baked, and Friday. Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Very cool.
For the world's greatest stoner, I nominate Devin the Dude. Devin the Dude and the Doobie Ashtray.
Hi, Chris, Shannon, and Jeremy. Let's see here. My favorite stoner movie is gotta be what are we talking about? I forget. Oh well.
Beautiful. An actual bong hit on the talkback. Shannon, that was not a drop from Jeremy. That was an actual caller with an actual bong hit on 420 who then forgot the question. Perfect.
We love the creativity and that, it's like we're there with them. It's awesome. Thanks for sending.
We are. I'm getting a contact high just by listening to that. Very, very nice. All right. Big night as bragging rights between Austin and San Antonio will be decided on the pitch at Toyota Field tonight in San Antonio. Austin FC against San Antonio FC. And I love that soccer does this. They have like this North American Open Cup where everybody participates. Doesn't matter what league you're in. If you're a professional soccer team, you pretty much get in. And it gives a team like San Antonio FC a shot at an MLS team like Austin FC. Huge SAFC fan and member of the Crocketeers. In fact, he's on the board. Our good friend Jason Garcia on the line. Jason, how geeked up are you for this match tonight?
Oh, I am very, very geeked up for this match, Chris. I can't believe it. Finally we've asked for this, and we're finally going to get it. Austin versus San Antonio, bragging rights throughout the state. Let's get it on.
Shannon, are you nervous about this? Do you think San Antonio might be able to punk Austin FC tonight?
Austin's been on a bit of a hot streak lately, so I feel okay now, but they are going to San Antonio, so there's some home field advantage there. What do you expect the crowd to be like for this one tonight, Jason?
From what I'm hearing through the front office from SASC, that it will be a sold-out crowd tonight. And unlike Austin, which I have been up to that wonderful stadium up there. SAFC crowd is a little bit much more closer, and we can actually talk with the players. I would say maybe we're about 10 feet from the players or less. So we will be loud, and we will be in their ears.
Now, you mentioned the other day, Jason, to us that Austin, at least 500 fans are making the trip down from Austin to San Antonio for this match. Are you going to party with those guys and tailgate with them? You told us that once the game begins, the friendliness goes away until the end of the game. What do you think things will be like as far as Austin and San Antonio fans going at it tonight?
Well, the one thing that we as the Crocketeers, we do is we actually send out invitations to the visiting team support groups, and we welcome them to the city of San Antonio, the county of Bexar, and the wonderful state of Texas. And we offer their board members a little peace offering where if they join us at our tailgates, we would exchange scarves, hats, patches, and literally do a big Texas welcome to San Antonio. We've done that also. We reached out a little, I guess, a handshake to the Austin crowd. And we did hear back saying that some of them board members will come by our tailgate before the game.
Well, we love that there's some friendliness going on, but that doesn't mean there can't be a rivalry in between the whistles. And this is the first time these two teams will meet. And Chris already mentioned it. Soccer does a great job at intermingling from different levels in different leagues. And with this being the first meeting, no matter what goes down, who ends up winning, do you see this being the start of a great rivalry for years to come?
Well, first off, I hope so. Unlike, unfortunately, with Texas and Texas A&M, which might not never happen again, but I know it's going to happen again soon. But I would like to see this maybe like having like every other year, where it's not during the preseason of the MLS or the USL season. It's just a regular game that just pops up out of nowhere. And I see SAFC winning tonight.
That would be huge, and we'll talk about that in a sec as we talk with Jason Garcia of the Crocketeers. Jason, how much angst? Because I know, I used to do a lot of work with the Scorpions, the San Antonio Scorpions, before San Antonio FC came online, and I know a lot of soccer fans and Crocketeers who I've met wanted MLS soccer, and I still believe San Antonio deserved and deserves MLS soccer. Austin got it. We did not. Is there extra angst, extra juice, maybe even extra anger that San Antonio soccer fans have for Austin because they got MLS soccer and we did not?
As far as angst and anger, I would say no. What I'm getting from the crowds that go through our tailgates and when they talk about soccer, it's more like they're of a disappointment. And it's like, okay, where can we go from here? I mean, obviously you said MLS gave Austin a franchise, and they've given Orlando 4, 5, 6 franchises. It's like, you know what? Let's get more people involved, especially city council, and say, okay, are we going to go? Which direction are we going to go? I've even heard some fans saying, you know what? Let's look down to Mexico. Let's look down to the big league in Mexico and say, hey, why not give us a franchise? If you notice, whenever the Mexico national team comes up here to the Alamo Dome, 80,000 seats get sold out within 2 hours. So San Antonio is a football city, but not just the football that we're talking about. We're talking about soccer.
Yeah, if we went La Liga, and I mean that's an outside the box idea, and I think it would be huge if San Antonio went in that direction. All right, you mentioned you believe San Antonio FC will win this match tonight. I think obviously that would be an upset. One of three things is going to happen, Jason. It's going to be tight one way or the other. It'll be a close one, 1 or 2 goals, or SAFC is going to blow out Austin, even more unlikely, but not impossible. Or the worst, I think, for San Antonio fans would be if Austin FC comes in here. I mean, we saw them score 5 goals earlier in the season. If they come in here and win this thing handily, like 5-0 or 5-1, something like that, How bad would it be if Austin FC comes in here and just, wipes the pitch with San Antonio FC?
I think the one thing we gotta look at is to see who's playing for SAFC. If they have all their stars in there, then I believe it's going to be a close game. But if SAFC pulls all their starters before the match, then might as well hand the W to Austin. But I believe both starters for both teams will cancel each other out, and it's going to come down to just one or two mistakes during the match.
Yeah, I would hope that at least the San Antonio coaching staff realizes how big this would be for bragging rights if they could win. Now, I'm looking at the San Antonio FC website, Jason. It says 8 o'clock is the start tonight. As you mentioned, it will probably sell out. So if there's any tickets left, people want to get there early. The Crocketeers are known for tailgating and partying. What time are you guys going to get the tailgating underway tonight?
We're going to get. We usually start the tailgate about 3.5 hours prior to the match, so we'll be there around 5:30 to get everything started off. And then about half hour right before the match, we're going to start wrapping up the tailgate. We ask everybody if they're there at the tailgate, don't leave just yet, because what we like to do and what SASC likes us to do is literally march into the stadium as one big loud crowd, and to make the announcement. The fans of SASC are here to support our boys, our team.
Very, very cool. A big night, and obviously kind of a sort of a David versus Goliath thing. I know in these open matches, as Jason mentioned, not all the time is every team going at full strength, but we shall see. Jason Garcia of the Crocketeers, best of luck to you. And I know we've got a lot of Austin listeners, especially in the Austin area this morning. So best of luck as well to Austin FC. Should be a lot of fun. I hope it becomes a tradition. Why the heck not? I think it's good for both cities and both fan bases. Way to represent, Jason. Great information. Have a lot of fun tonight, man. And we'll see what happens. And we'll be talking about it tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Chris. And good luck to you, Shannon.
Shannon,
thank you, Jason.
You think Jason's going to call in? You think he might call in tomorrow and try to mock you if SAFC pulls this off?
Perhaps. I mean, I'd love it. I'm hoping that this game is, by the way, is on ESPN Plus. So for those who have ESPN Plus,
wow, that
is where you're going to be able to catch that game. And the winner of this entire tournament, Chris, not only do they get a trophy, which everyone loves a trophy, but I believe it's $300,000 for the club. So there's a lot on the line in this single elimination tournament.
And I just love how soccer opens it up for all the teams of significance in North America to have a shot. I think it's cool. It's almost sort of like the NCAA tournament. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is officially what they call it. All right, Shannon, it is 4:20. Among our topics today was the poll question. For people just tuning in, what was that poll question and what have we learned?
Asking who is the greatest American stoner. I don't think it's a surprise that of our options, Willie Nelson leads votes with 60%. Regionally, I think he is probably the first person who would pop into your mind. Snoop Dogg in second with 25% of the vote, and Tommy Chong 11%.
Yeah, and we had other that gets about 2.9%. We had some people nominate Matthew McConaughey, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and others. So very, very cool. I didn't really appreciate Jason nominating Brittany Griner. I thought that was kind of uncool and too soon.
Hashtag too
Until
soon.
she gets out at least. Hashtag too soon. All right, y'all. Enjoy your 420. Be careful out there. Don't do anything stupid. Don't get arrested. You know what to do. You know how to behave. Shannon Salty Sweeney, thank you. That's one of our many listeners, one of our many stoner listeners. Shannon, great job. Enjoy. While you won't partake in any 420 activities, I hope your munchies are most excellent for the rest of the day.
I've been seeing a lot of articles about free food you can get on 420, so I may take advantage of that.
Woo. Yes, be a stoner for a day just to get the food. Jeremy Kolok on fire, sir, as always. Excellent job today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Same time tomorrow.
Yes, in 21 hours, we'll do it all over again. Our thanks to Bill Schoening, Jason Garcia. We'll see you in 21. Adios, amigos. All right, y'all. Farewell. Adios. Celebrate 420 responsibly. And we will see you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us. We enjoyed it. Take care.